The queen of the south shall arise up in judgment with the men of this generation and condemn them. For she came from the uttermost parts of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and behold, a greater than Solomon is here. The men of Nineveh shall rise up in the judgment with this generation and shall condemn it. For they repented at the preaching of Jonas, and behold, a greater than Jonas is here. Now you know how bad that's got to be to sit back and look at it. These people, this man sitting back telling them that these Gentiles, when they heard the preaching, they repented. Yet you come and you hear me and you continue doing everything that you've been doing. There hasn't been a change. Therefore, he's not going to be able to have mercy upon you. Let's look at something, right? In that Luke 13 and 1. I'm sorry, that wasn't even Matthew 11. Not really, that was Luke 11. Same thing, but it's in Matthew 11 by verse 21. But look at Luke 13. There were present at that season some that told him of the Galileans whose blood Pilate had mingled with their sacrifices. Yahushua answered and said unto them, Suppose ye that these Galileans were sinners above all Galileans because they suffered such things? I tell you, nay. But except ye repent, ye shall all likewise perish. Of those 18 upon whom the tower in Siloam fell, and slew them, think ye that they were sinners above all men that dwelt in Jerusalem? I tell you, nay. But except ye repent, ye shall all likewise perish. He spake also this parable. A certain man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came and sought fruit thereon and found none. Then he said unto the dresser of his vineyard, Behold, these 3 years I come seeking fruit on this fig tree, and I find none. Cut it down. Why cumber it the ground? And he answering said unto him, Master, let it alone this year also, till I shall dig about it and dung it. And if it bear fruit, well. And if not, then after that thou shalt cut it down. So you sit back and look at it. When the word, he say the word is the seed is the word of Elohim. So when the word come and it fall in your heart, if it's not bearing any fruit, then you in actuality don't serve no purpose. And if you don't serve no purpose, then he's going to have to cut you down. Why are you going to have to be cut down? Because you didn't do like what they did in Nineveh, that you were moved at the preaching and you turned. See, it's something, the reason why we look at it, because it's something that we read Wednesday in the Jonah chapter 4, that what he said or why he did what he did, because Jonah was angry. But still at the same token, the people saying, we don't know if he's going to turn and be merciful or not if we repent. But then people heard the word and they repented. You know what I'm saying? They changed their behavior. There was a sorrow that came about. Matter of fact, look at 2 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 9. It was a sorrow came about. Seven and 9, or 7 and 8. For though I made you sorry with a letter, I do not repent. Though I did repent, for I perceive that that same epistle had made you sorry, though it were but for a season. Now I rejoice, not that you were made sorry, but that you sorrowed to repentance. For you were made sorry after a godly manner, that you might receive damage by us and nothing. For godly sorrow worked repentance to salvation, not to be repented of. But the sorrow of the world worked death. For behold, this selfsame thing that you sorrowed after a godly sort, what carefulness is wrought in you, yea, what clearing of yourselves, yea, what indignation, yea, what fear, yea, what vehement desire, yea, what zeal, yea, what revenge. And all these things you have approved yourselves to be clear in this matter. So then we have to look at this. He said, if you were sorrowed after a godly sort, he said, what carefulness is worked in you. When you turn around and you look at what carefulness is worked in you, the first example we sit back and look at when David was moved to repent after a godly sorrow, that carefulness was he was a lot more wiser in what he did. He never offended an Elohim in any other matter other than that. See, hold this 2 Corinthians chapter 7 and look at Ephesians chapter 5. 5 and 8. Now we know it was deemed that Daoud, David, was a man after Yah's own heart. And get Genesis 38 too. Yeah, Genesis 38. He say, for you were sometimes darkness, but you are now light in the master. Walk as children of light. For the fruit of the Ruach is in all goodness and righteousness and truth, proving what is acceptable unto the master. And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. For it is a shame even to speak of those things which are done of them in secret. For all things that are reproved are made manifest by the light. For whatsoever doth make manifest is light. Wherefore he saith, awake thou that sleep, and arise from the dead, and Mashiach shall give thee light. See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. One of the words that would come from circumspect would be prudent. And prudent is to consider, to be wise, to understand, to have insight. You know what I'm saying? That's where that carefulness will come in at, because that's what it means to be circumspect. And when you look at the Hebrew, the word is sakal, and the word means to support or prop up, a defense. You know what I'm saying? To hold you up. So when you look at that, when you've been moved to that godly sorrow, and you done repented, and that carefulness works in you. See, so an example of some godly sorrow. Let's look at Genesis 38, what I had in my head. See, that's the same thing the people in the Nineveh showed when that preaching came. They were moved with sorrow, and that carefulness was shown. Okay, chapter 1. So we look at Genesis 38, right? About verse 11. Then said Yehudah to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, remain a widow at thy father's house, till shall my son be grown. For he said, lest peradventure he die also as his brethren did. And Tamar went and dwelt in his father's house, in her father's house. And in the process of time, the daughter of Shua, Yehudah's wife, died, and Yehudah was comforted and went up unto his sheep shearers to Tamar, he and his friend Harah the Adammelite. And it was told Tamar, saying, behold, thy father-in-law go up to Timnath to shear his sheep. She put her widow's garments off from her, and covered her with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place which is by the way at Timnath, for she saw that Shalah was grown, and she was not given unto him to wife. When Yehudah saw her, he thought her to be a harlot, because she had covered her face. And he turned her by the way, and said, go to, I pray thee, let me come in unto thee, for he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, what wilt thou give me, that thou may come in unto me? Now he states that everything that he gonna give her and all of these things. So let's drop down to verse 24. It said, it came to pass about 3 months after that it was told to Yehudah, saying, Tamar thy daughter-in-law hath played the harlot, and also behold, she is with child by whoredom. And Yehudah said, bring her forth, and let her be burnt. When she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, by the man whose these are am I with child. And she said, discern, I pray thee, whose are these? The signet, and bracelets, and staff. Yehudah acknowledged them, and saying, she hath been more righteous than I, because that I gave her not to Shalah my son, and he knew her again no more. Now you sit back and you look at the carefulness that was wrought in him. He done sat back and he done seen, number one, for laying with this woman, but then seeing that he didn't give his son to her like he was supposed to. So now when he come with this carefulness, you see the carefulness of this repentance is worked in him. You see the carefulness in his mind, because now he got in his mind, I will know her no more. You know what I'm saying? So then therefore that's manifested openly, because he did not partake in that activity again. You know what I'm saying? You look at a lot of people, they'll do some stuff, and then that carefulness is not in them. They don't sit back and look at, all right, I'm not going to make this move again. I'm not going to make this move again. So therefore it's not in them. Let's come back to 2 Corinthians 7:9. Let's look at the other thing that he stated. Well, not 9, we in 11. Listen what he said. Now he say, for this self-same thing that you sorrowed after a godly sort, what manner of carefulness is wrought in you? What clearing of yourselves? He say, what indignation, what fear, what vehement desire, what zeal, what revenge, and these things you have approved yourselves to be clear in this matter. So now let's look at the next thing. He say, what manner of carefulness or what clearing of yourselves? What do you think this would mean about clearing of yourselves? Well, this would be referring to a manner of forgiveness. Let's look at 2 Chronicles, I want to say. We're going to look at Manasseh for an example of this. Yep, it might be 1 Chronicles. No, it is 2 Chronicles. Second Chronicles chapter 33. And about verse 1. And Manasseh was 12 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 50 and 5 years in Jerusalem. But did that which was evil in the sight of Yahuwah, like unto the abominations of the heathen, whom Yahuwah had cast out from before the children of Yasharal. For he built again the high places which Hezekiah's father had broken down, and he reared up altars for Baalim, and made groves, and worshipped all the hosts of Shamahim, and served them. And he built altars in the house of Yahuwah, whereof Yahuwah had said, in Jerusalem shall my name be forever. And he built altars for all the hosts of Shamahim, in the 2 courts of the house of Yahuwah. And he caused the children to pass through the fire in the valley of Himnon. Also he observed times, and used enchantments, and used witchcraft, and dealt with the familiar spirit, and with wizards. And he wrought much evil in the sight of Yahuwah to provoke him to anger. And he set a carved image, the idol which he had made in the house of Elohim, of which Elohim had said to David and to Solomon, in this house, in the Jerusalem, which I've chosen before all the tribes of Yasharal, will I put my name forever. Now we're going to sit back and hold something right here, right? He set a carved image, the idol which he made in the house of Elohim. Now, you know, in 2 Corinthians, it take what agreement? He said, know ye not that you are the temple of Elohim. What agreement does the temple of Elohim have with idols, right? So we turn around and we look at it that we are the temple of Elohim, and we would have no business setting idols in our heart in the same way that he did. Because now when we turn around and we look at this, and when he said that this is the place where he chose to place his name forever, let's turn around and look at something and hold this right here. Look over there. Revelation chapter 3. Because, you know, Paul stated in 2 Timothy chapter 2 about verse 19 about how those that name themselves after Mashiach, let them depart from iniquity, because his name would be named upon you. The same way we was looking at, he had that mitre that had Kadesh to Yahuwah written across the front of it, right there on his forehead. Basically, that the name of Yah is in his head. You would look at, and you can see that in Ezekiel chapter 8, where he talking about, you know what I'm saying, seal my servants in their forehead. You know what I'm saying? See, the name of Yahuwah be right there in your mind. It'd be the helmet of salvation right there at the forefront. That's why you say the light of the body is the eye, and if the eye be single, then the body be full of light. Three and 12, not that that third eye stuff you hear people talking about. We dealing with that Egypt stuff or so-called knowledge stuff. Him that overcome will I make a pillar in the temple of my Elohim. He shall go no more out. And I will write upon him the name of my Elohim, and the name of the city of my Elohim, which is New Jerusalem, which come down out of Shamahim from Elohim. And I will write upon him my new name. Now you notice he say he put his name in that house. You know what I'm saying? If the Son dwelleth in you, then his name is in you. That means all his power, all his mercies, all his greatness, all that is in you. Come on back over here to 2 Chronicles 33. So we start at verse 7. Look at verse 8. He said, neither will I any more remove the foot of Yasharal out of the land which I have appointed for your fathers, so that they will take heed to do all that I have commanded them according to the law and the statutes and the ordinances by the hand of Moses. So Manasseh made Yehuda and the inhabitants of Jerusalem to err and to do worse than the heathen whom Yahuwah had destroyed from before the children of Yasharal. And Yahuwah spake to Manasseh and to his people, and they would not hearken. Wherefore Yahuwah brought upon them the captains of the host of the king of Assyria, which took Manasseh among the thorns, and bound him with fetters, and carried him to Babylon. And when he was in affliction, he besought Yahuwah his Elohim, and humbled himself greatly before the Elohim of his fathers. And he prayed unto him, and he was entreated of him, and he heard his supplications, and brought him again to Jerusalem and to his kingdom. Then Manasseh knew that Yahuwah, he was Elohim. Now this is going right back to something right this here, right? Hold this right here. I think it's Psalm 34. I ran across this earlier. Oh, I can't remember what day it was. Might have been earlier today. 34 and 15. Matter of fact, they'd make it 34 and 11. Come, ye children, hearken unto me, and I will teach you the fear of Yahuwah. What is man that he desire life and love many days, that he may see good? Keep thy tongue from evil and thy lips from speaking guile. Depart from evil and do good. Seek shalom and pursue it. Same thing you sitting back looking at. You know what I'm saying? Repent from your deeds. Put the violence out of your hands. He said the eyes of Yahuwah are upon the righteous. His ears are open unto their cry. The face of Yahuwah is against them that do evil, to cut off the remembrance of them from their arrest. The righteous cry, and Yahuwah hear and deliver them out of all their troubles. Yahuwah is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and saveth such of a contrite spirit. Now, we were just sitting back looking at, what's the thing we looked at the other day, last night, that breaks a person's heart? Sorrow. You know what I'm saying? When we turn around and you look at, that's when you turn around and you look at it. Manasseh was put in a position where he'd been afflicted, and in his affliction, he's sorrowful and he cries out. I don't want to quote the Proverbs 15 wrong. Well, 14 and 13. No, it was 15. But he say, by a merry heart make a cheerful countenance. He say, but the sorrow of the heart, the ruach, is broken. Now this man just sat back and said that he is near to them of a broken heart and of a humbled spirit, a contrite spirit. This is why he was able to deliver Manasseh. Because at first when he came to Manasseh, Manasseh didn't want to hear. But then when he put him in the affliction, and the sorrows of the affliction binded him, once he was binded by the afflictions and he was broken and he cried out, and Yah heard him, because those sorrows are what it takes at times to break a person, to be able to get them to where he wants you to be at. You know what I'm saying? That when you brought that low, he can lift you back that high. You understand what I'm saying? See, matter of fact, look at James chapter 4. We still holding 2 Chronicles 33. See, that's the same way like we were talking about the other day when the young man told Job. He said, you chose this rather than affliction. I hope Yah try you out to the end. See, sometimes when you get afflicted and Yah actually trying to bust you down to get you to be like refine you, to get you a little bit point the way he wants you to be at, a lot of people try to seek that try to find some pleasures or try to find a way to get around that. You know what I'm saying? What they end up finding out in the midst of that is nothing is filling that void. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing going around. I just was talking to somebody the other day, and then they were saying pretty much something that I was just telling them. Even what we read in that proverb, we say, let me read that Proverbs again. Because when you're dealing with somebody who's dealing with a man of depression, this happens. That Proverb 14 and 13 say, even in laughter the heart is sorrowful, and the end of that mirth is heaviness. So even in the midst of you doing something that you think is going to make you feel better, after that moment is passed, the sorrow still is there, because sorrow translated is just something that means pain, deep pain. You know what I'm saying? And when you have deep exceeding sorrow, that's what in our terms is that is depression, which is amongst black people, I've been telling y'all, that's a very taboo discussion to have. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people fall into it because all it is just an extended state of sorrowness. Whoa. So let's finish this here, James chapter 4. Four and 5. Do you think the scripture saith in vain, the Ruach that dwell in us lust to envy? But he give more favor, wherefore if he saith, Elohim resist the proud, but give favor unto the humble. That's the saying that you sitting back looking at. When this man was sorrowful and he was humble, he was able to give him the favor that he sought for. Draw nigh to Elohim, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners, and purify your hearts, ye double-minded. Be afflicted, and mourn, and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning, and your joy to heaviness. That's just what we're looking at in Proverbs 14 and 13. Well, now you can see where he got that from when he say, even in laughter the heart is sorrowful, and the end of that mirth is heaviness. Because he's sitting here telling you that you need to let your laughter be turned to mourning, and your joy, because that's what mirth means, is joy. You know what I'm saying? To heaviness. Because when you turn around and you look at that, while we walk around laughing and playing, thinking things are gain, that's why you say, blessed are those who are mourned, they'll be comforted. Because sometimes you're going to have that broken heart of sorrow in you to be able to have that contrite spirit so Yah can be near to you. This is why he was near to him. Now, I'm not talking about necessarily like being literally depressed, literally sad, 24/7, 365. That's not what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? It's talking about that godly sorrow or that carefulness being wrought in you. Because when these things are wrought and these things are manifest, then you can be approved before Elohim. See, matter of fact, since I said let's look at an example of Mashiach doing that, but let me finish this 2 Chronicles 33 first. You finish that 2 Chronicles 33 first. Where it is. Verse 12, I read verse 12 again. He said, when he was in affliction, he besought Yahuwah his Elohim and humbled himself greatly before the Elohim of his fathers. And he prayed unto him, and he was entreated of him, and heard his supplication, and brought him again to Jerusalem and to his kingdom. Then Manasseh knew that Yahuwah, he was Elohim. Now after this he built a wall without the city of Daud on the west side of Gihon in the valley, even to the entering in at the fish gate, and compassed about Ophel, and raised it up a very great height, and put captains of war in all the fenced cities of Yehudah. And he took away the strange gods and the idol out of the house of Yahuwah, and all the altars that he had built in the mount of the house of Yahuwah and in Jerusalem, and cast them out of the city. And he repaired the altar and sacrificed thereon peace offerings and thank offerings, and commanded Yehudah to serve Yahuwah, Elohim of Yasharal. So you see this here, right? After he been moved to this godly sorrow, do you see the vehement desire? Do you see the zeal? Do you see the carefulness which he's wrought, that he could show that his repentance was approved? See, a lot of people sit back and they say they sorry for something, but in actuality, they haven't been moved to godly sorrow because these things are not being manifested in their behavior after the fact. See, I'm going to read that again in 2 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 11. He say, this self-same thing that you sorrowed after a godly sort. So whatever the thing was that he moved in to be sorrowful about, he say, what carefulness did it wrought in you? Then he began to be more careful and circumspect in what he was doing. Let me put all these idols away. Let me commend the people to serve Yahuwah the Elohim only. Let me not have all this stuff here we got going on. Then he say, what clearing of yourselves? So in order to make the thing right, that he didn't get things that he did wrong, he turned around and made those things correct. You know what I'm saying? Then you also turn around and say, what fear? Because then you see the fear that he had for Yah and these things. Then you see the vehement desire and the zeal that he went about to do it. Now let's look at another example. I want to say Numbers 27. Let me see, is that Numbers 27? go. Hold on 1 second, man. I'm looking for this priest coming here and hit them people with that spear real fast. That's what I wanted. Let's look at Numbers 30, see if Numbers 31 got what I want. Let's look at Numbers 31. It might not be the one I want, but just looking at this Numbers 31, I don't think that's what I want. And sit back and you're going to see the revenge is what I'm talking about, because of the transgression of the people at the time when they went to following after other gods. Phineas had to come through and put in some work real fast. It's Numbers 25. I was off a chapter. 25 and about verse 1. Yasharal abode in Shittim, and the people begun to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods, and the people did eat and bowed down to their gods. Yasharal joined himself unto Baal Peor, and the anger of Yahuwah was kindled against Yasharal. Yahuwah said unto Moses, take all the heads of the people and hang them up before Yahuwah against the sun, that the fierce anger of Yahuwah may be turned away from Yasharal. Now you notice that he said to take all the heads of the people and hang them up from before the sun. This will make sense in a moment. Moses said unto the judges of Yasharal, slay ye every one his men that were joined under Baal Peor. And behold, one of the children of Yasharal came and brought into his brethren a Midianite woman, in the sight of Moses and in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Yasharal, who were weeping before the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And when Phinehas the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, saw it, he rose up amongst the congregation and took a javelin in his hand. And he went after the man of Yasharal into the tent and thrust both of them through, the man of Yasharal and the woman through her belly. So the plague was stayed for the children of Yasharal. And those that died in the plague were 24,000. Now sit back and think about this. What does that come to your head and you hear Eleazar taking Phinehas taking a javelin and putting it through the belly of the man and the woman? I'll search for what his name is. Now, Phinehas' name means mouth of brass. We'll say a variation of a mouth of the serpent. So, of a serpent. Now, there's two things that used to come up there: a mouth of brass, and then him taking a javelin and thrusting it through the man and the woman's belly. What would that mean to any of y'all? What is that word? I guess ain't nobody gonna participate. So when we turn around and look at it, you know that obviously they took a javelin and put it through Mashiach's belly. You know what I'm saying? That's the purpose of doing what? To stopping a plague. That's why he say you were justified. You are sanctified. He say you were also of these things. You know what I'm saying? He say effeminate, liars, thieves, extortioners. He say, but now you are justified. You are washed from the blood of the Master Yahushua. You know what I'm saying? You looking at the one who's the mouth of brass is coming through doing this. When you look at mouth of brass or mouth of serpent, which you could come into your head, because this is a priest. You know what I'm saying? He's a son of Aaron, the high priest. So when you sit back and you think about that, what comes to your mind is that brass serpent that they put up there on that pole, that everybody that looked upon it would be saved. You know what I'm saying? To make an atonement. You know what I'm talking about? You know what he said as in John 3:14, as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so the Son of Man must be lifted up. Now you turn around and look at what happened with Phineas and see if he got lifted up. In verse 10, I'm in. He said, Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Phineas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, have turned away my wrath from the children of Yasharal, while he was zealous for my sake among them, that I consume not the children of Yasharal in my jealousy. Wherefore say, Behold, I give unto him my covenant of shalom, and he shall have it, and his seed after him, even the covenant of an everlasting priesthood, because he was zealous for his Elohim, and made atonement for the children of Yasharal. So you sitting back looking at him taking a spear and taking a javelin and taking it and jamming it in the side of this man and this woman. When we already know, we talking about you looking at that, the Midian means strife. Hello? Hello? Huh? Oh, what's going on? So when you look at you him taking that javelin, right? Now you looking at strife. You got he that rules his owl getting hit in the side, because they say the man of Yasharal, and then you got a Midianite woman. That Midianite woman, it means strife. When you sit back and you look at what came about when the woman was deceived, that brought forth that strife. Because then he say the woman's seed and the serpent seed would always butt heads. You know what I'm saying? And then when you turn around and you look at when the master was alive, what occurred? You know what I'm saying? There was strife between he that rules his owl and the woman. You know what I'm saying? Now you turn around and you look at it. He said, I made them male and female. Made and female made he them and called their name Adam. So there was strife between the husband and the wife. Why? Because the husband and the wife were not on the same page. Why? Because the wife went a-whoring after other gods. That's what you just sat back and read in Numbers 25. That's what they were doing. They were going after other gods. So therefore something had to occur. What occurred in that process? Plague come out and the people are dying. We know what the plague is. Look at Romans 6 and 20. Make it 19. And 19. Listen what it said. I speak after the manner of men because of the infirmity of your flesh. So he said, I'm going to speak to you like a man because of the weakness of this flesh. He said, for as you yield your member servants to uncleanliness and to iniquity, even so now yield your member servants to righteousness unto Kadesh. For when you were the servants of sin, you were free from righteousness. What fruit had you in those things whereof you are now ashamed, for the end of those things is death? These people were not even ashamed when he turned around and look at it, bowing down to Baal Peor, but the end of the things that they were doing, it brought forth death. He said, but now being made free from sin and become the servants to Elohim, you have your fruits unto Kadesh, and the end everlasting life. Now you look at Phineas is coming, or the mouth of brass, he's coming around, he freed the people from sin. He just said he made a covenant of peace with them. And his seed after them, that they would have an everlasting priesthood, that they would everlasting be joined to Yahuwah. This is what this man get. Remember, this is a son of Aaron. For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of Elohim is eternal life through Yahushua HaMashiach, our master. So they look at it. They got the wages of their sin. They got death, but the gift of life was given unto who? Unto Phineas. So when we turn around and we look at it, right? Let's look at that gift of that priesthood in Revelation chapter 5 and verse 9. And they sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain, and hast redeemed us to Elohim by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation, and hast made us unto our Elohim kings and priests, and we shall reign on their rest. So because of what it did, this is able to make him to be able to be kings. Now he say this is for a seed, everlasting peace, a covenant of peace, and an everlasting priesthood. So let's look at Galatians 3 and 13, or 3 and 14, really. Now, what you're looking at is, what Phineas is doing is two things that we see in that verse 11 in 2 Corinthians. You've seen zeal and revenge. You know what I'm saying? Because he executed vengeance upon that man for what he did. Because he brought a plague on, well, not just him, but he sat back and he brought that woman in there, and he had to bring the plague on everybody. He said that the blessing of Abraham might come on the Gentiles through Yahushua HaMashiach, that we might receive the promise of the Ruach through faith. Brethren, I speak after the manner of men. Though it be but a man's covenant, yet if it be confirmed, no man disannul or add thereto. Now to Abraham and his seed were the promises made. He saith not, and to seeds as of many, but as of one, and thy seed which is Mashiach. So we look at, he say for Phineas, this blessing going to be on his seed, an everlasting priesthood. Now we know Peter tell us about that. He said, you have been made a peculiar treasure, a Kadesh priesthood, to make sacrifices acceptable unto Elohim. That's why he say in Mashiach there's neither bond nor free, male or female, no Yahadim nor Greek. Because when he said, like, look at it, you all are one. And he said, you got to offer yourself as a living sacrifice. Who else can offer sacrifices but the priest? So when we look at when you actually become joined to Yahuwah or joined to Yahusha, and he says, abide in me and I in you, then you become a what? You become a priest. Because even when you are a woman and you joined unto him, you're offering yourself as a sacrifice. So because he's male and female, he became one, and they call his name Adam or man, you know what I'm talking about? That encompasses all of that. That encompasses all of that. So when we turn around and look at it, having an everlasting priesthood, why did that everlasting priesthood come up? Because that's what we were talking about last night. Let's look at Hebrew chapter 7, back that up. Because we know if he ought to see the Aaron, Eleazar ain't got no everlasting priesthood. I mean, well, Phineas ain't got no everlasting priesthood. The priesthood of Aaron is over with. So then we begin to look at something and see something a little different. Look at Hebrew chapter 7. I look at take about verse 9. And as I may say so, Levi also, who received tithes, paid tithes in Abraham. For he was yet in the loins of his father when Melchizedek met him. If therefore perfection were by the Levitical priesthood, for under it the people received the law, what further need was there that another priest should arise after the order of Melchizedek, and not be called after the order of Aaron? For the priesthood being changed, there is made a necessity a change also of the law. For if he whom these things are spoken pertain to another tribe, of which no man gave attendance at the altar. For it is evident that our master sprang out of Yehuda, of which tribe Moses spake nothing concerning priesthood. And it is yet far more evident, for that after the similitude of Melchizedek there arise another priest, who is made not after the law of carnal commandment, but after the power of endless life. For he testified that thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. For there is verily a disannulling of the commandment going before the weakness and unprofitableness thereof. For the law made nothing perfect, but the bringing in of a better hope did, by which we draw nigh unto Elohim. So let's go back and look at what he stated, the promise that he made with Phineas. Because he said the weakness of the unprofitableness thereof. It's not saying the actual law is weak and unprofitable. He's talking about the law that chose a fleshly man to be a high priest. You got to look at what he's talking about. You know what I'm saying? He's talking about the laws that pertain to a high priest. He said, will there be a disannulling? There has to be a change of the law then. Because he said, you talking about he's a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. The law say the high priest got to come through Aaron's line. Let's look at Numbers 18 and 1 and back that up, just so there's understanding be brought forth. Numbers 18 and 1. He says, and Yahuwah said unto Aaron, thou and thy sons and thy father's house with thee shall bear the iniquity of the sanctuary, and thou and thy sons with thee shall bear the iniquity of your priesthood. And thy brethren also of the tribe of Levi, the tribe of thy father, bring thou with thee, that they may be joined unto thee and minister unto thee. But thou and thy sons with thee shall minister before the tabernacle of witness. So that's laid on them. That's laid on them. So that's a commandment, a carnal commandment, that you can't be a high priest unless you come from the seed of Aaron. But then he comes and gives a commandment for the high priest to come after the order of Melchizedek, which is a continually eternal priesthood, which is not after the carnal commandment, but a commandment of everlasting life. How do we know that? Let's look at Hebrews chapter 7 again and look at verse 4 and look at what he say about Melchizedek. 7 and 1. We'll just look at 7 and 1. For this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High Elohim, who met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings, and blessed him, to whom also Abraham gave a tenth part of all, first being by interpretation king of righteousness, and after that also king of Salem, which is king of Shalom. Same covenant that he just made with Phineas. He said he made a covenant of peace with it. We'll look at another place where we look at it. He said he made a covenant of peace. He say, without father, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like unto the son of Elohim, abide a priest continually. That means there's no end. That's continual. You know, that can't come from man. Let's look at Malachi chapter 2, where you see another place where he make a covenant of peace with a priest. Two and 4. And you know that I sent this commandment unto you, that my covenant might be with Levi, saith Yahuwah of hosts. My covenant might be with him that's joined to Yah. We already read in John chapter 10, he said, I and my father are one. He's joined to Yah. This is about Mashiach. We already know this though. My covenant was with him of life and shalom, and I gave them to him for the fear wherewith he feared me and was afraid before my name. Do you not see that Phineas did that same thing? For the fear which he feared him, that he was afraid before his name. Same thing. Same process. So let's look back at Phineas again. Back at Numbers 25. And look at verse 13 again. But verse 12, he said, I'll give unto him my covenant of peace. He shall have it in his seed after him, even the covenant of an everlasting priesthood, because he was zealous and he made the atonement. Now we know Mashiach came to make the atonement, because this spear and this javelin coming through because to stop the plague. We know that the wages of sin is death, but the gift of eternal life is through Yahushua HaMashiach, our master. So we look at that he coming through as Phineas, or the mouth of brass, to stop the plague, just like the serpent of brass was put up on that pole, and that they were zealous to do this to stop the plague. Mashiach was zealous to stop the plague. It was his passion, it was his desire. Now let's look at John chapter 14. About verse 26. If it ain't John chapter 14, then it's going to be John 16. We get Acts 1 and 1 as well. Yep, John 14 and 26. Knowing that the Ruach HaKodesh is a part of the new covenant and that blessed are those that mourn, so they'll be comforted, we begin to look at something. But the Comforter, which is the Ruach HaKodesh, whom the Father shall send in my name, he shall teach you all things and bring all things to your remembrance whatsoever I said unto you. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give unto you. Not as the world give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, and let not your heart be afraid. So he's sitting here speaking upon how he's leaving his peace with us. See, that covenant of peace is the things that you sit back and you look at. Let's look at something in 1 Timothy chapter 1 and 1 before we look at Acts 1 and 1. This is what he say. He say, Paul, an apostle of Yahushua HaMashiach, by the commandment of Elohim our Savior, and Master Yahushua HaMashiach, which is our hope. Unto Timothy, my own son in the faith, favor, mercy, and shalom from Elohim our Father, Yahushua HaMashiach our Master. As I besought thee to abide still at Ephesus when I went into Macedonia, that thou might charge some that they teach no other doctrine. See, when you sit back and you look at it, the people weren't able to have this peace and this favor and mercy that Paul was referring to because they allowed, I'm talking about referring to Numbers 25, because they came in and they let somebody come in and teach another doctrine. Well, they were bowing down to other gods. They let the doctrine of Baal Peor seep into the camp. So because of this happening, the people lost their peace and began to be killed. So Phineas had to rise up in his zeal and in his passion to stay the plague, to make the atonement, to bring peace back amongst the people because it had departed. Because they didn't want to stay still to abide, and they wanted to abide in another doctrine. See, now come back and look at this here, right? Hello? Hello? Is who?
Yana.
Oh, you in the bathroom.
I was about to get that. I was really concerned. There was a woman in the men's bathroom.
Colossians 1 and 16.
I was gonna hit her too. Like, why you? This shit a dude though.
So what, she trying to be a dude or he trying to be a
I don't
dude?
even know. I just know they had titties. So I thought it was a woman. I was gonna swing, man. I was like, man, you look at my son. I don't want to go to jail.
Could have just been obese.
Nah, it was a skinny dude. I think he changed to a woman.
Could have just been
He
obese.
ain't have enough to get that one part cut off.
Colossians 1 and 16, man.
Right, dude. I want to swing on him so bad.
They say, for by him, well, matter of fact, just make it 18, or actually about 19. They say, for it pleased the Father in him that all fullness should dwell. So when we look at Phineas, it pleased the Father that all fullness should dwell in him. Whether the covenant of life and peace, that it be given to his seed, and an everlasting priesthood behind it. He's saying, having made peace or shalom through his blood, through the blood of his state, by him to reconcile all things unto himself. By him I say, whether they be things in Arats or the things in Shamahim. And you that were sometimes alienated and enemies in your own mind by wicked works, yet now have he reconciled in the body of his flesh through death, to present you Kadesh and unblameable and unreprovable in his sight. If you continue in the faith, grounded and settled, and be not moved away from the hope of the gospel, which you have heard and was preached to every creature which is under Shamahim, wherefore I, Paul, am made a minister. Now that goes back to what we were talking about, I think, last week. This man just sat back and say the gospel was preached unto every creature under Shamahim. Well, we know to sit back and look at, we know the gospel was preached unto every creature under Shamahim, because we know all they got to do is look up at the luminaries, look up at the things that the Father placed in Shamahim and see the gospel was being preached unto them, whether they knew it or not. You know what I'm saying? But you see that he sat back and said that he made peace with you through his blood. You sit back and realize when Phineas rises up to execute judgment, and he spills the blood through that man of Yasharal and that Midianite woman, and he hits him in the side with that stake, that spills the blood. This is able to reconcile the people back to Yahuwah the same way Hamashiach is hit in the side with a javelin and his blood is spilled. This is able to reconcile the people back to Yahuwah. Then when we turn around and we look at it and we realize that he was crushed and of a broken spirit and a contrite heart and he was hurt, then we can realize that when we'll be made manifest, that we'll be of a crushed and broken spirit, that we might be hurt. Since I said that, Acts 2 and 2. What I was just going to reference in Acts 1 and 1 was where it say by his passion many infallible proofs, because it was the passion and zeal that Yahushua had to even offer himself up. Acts chapter 2, about verse 37. Now we know Peter done went to dropping that word on him. And then the people are moved. So let's see what they say. Now when they heard this, they were pricked in their heart and said unto Peter and to the rest of the apostles, men and brethren, what shall we do? Then Peter said unto them, repent and be immersed every one of you in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach for the remission of sins, and you shall receive the gift of the Ruach HaKodesh. For the promise is unto you and unto your children and all that are far off, as many as Yahuwah Elohim shall call. And with many other words did he testify and exhort, saying, save yourselves from this untoward generation. Then they that gladly received his word were immersed, and the same day were added unto them about 3,000 souls. So now we turn around and we look at something. And we begin to understand something, that when they heard that word, they were pricked in their heart. And then they were moved with that same sorrow. So then that fear of Yahuwah is manifested in their heart. That vehement desire, that carefulness. See, these are the things that are supposed to happen when you move with that sorrow. That's why he say that heaviness. He say when the mirth come, then the heaviness come. That's why he say let your joy be turned into mourning. Now, when we look at that mourning, I'm not referring to just being like down and out, crying and boo-hooing and terribly sad every day, but to have that broken heart, whether you get in a situation where you are humbled to that state, this is how Yahuwah can be able to receive you. This is how you can sit back and you can look at that these self-same things can be wrought and be made manifest in you. Don't want to quote it wrong, so I'm going to reread it again. But this is how the carefulness and the clearing of yourselves, and the indignation, and the vehement desire, and the zeal, and the revenge, and in all these things, you're going to prove yourself to be clear that you've been moved with this godly sorrow. That's why we was looking at Manasseh and looking at Yehuda, and then looking at Phineas, because when that sorrow took hold of them, when they seen the things that were going on, this is what happened. Now, let's sit back and look at it. And let's see Mashiach doing all of these things, having godly sorrow and that carefulness that was wrought in his heart. Let's sit back and look at. Let's look at Mark chapter 3 real fast. Because remember, he was a man of sorrows. He was acquainted with grief. So that means the whole time he moving, this man just has this in his heart. But we're going to sit back and look at this here, man, about carefulness. Three and 1. And he entered into a synagogue. There was a man there which had a withered hand. And they watched him, whether he would heal him on the Shabbat day, that they might accuse him. And he saith unto the man which had the withered hand, stand forth. And he saith unto them, is it lawful to do good on the Shabbat days or to do evil, to save a life or to kill? But they held their peace. But when he looked round about on them with anger, being grieved for the hardness of their hearts, he saith unto the man, stretch forth thy hand, and he stretched it out, and his hand was restored as whole as the other. Now you sit back and look at that grief. This is being pained or sorrowful, because he's sitting back looking at, when you really sorrowful about something, it's usually, it's three manner of emotions that can come through in that sorrow. You can go from being happy, but usually in that sorrow you end up being mad or very sad. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of people don't realize that, but anger is a part of sorrow. You know what I'm saying? We're going to sit back and we're going to see that when we return back to Jonah, the 4th chapter. But anger is literally a part of sorrow. It is a part of it. You know what I'm saying? That's why when you actually look at the symptoms of somebody who is actually suffering from depression, you see that irritability and anger is a part of it. Even when you look at the stages of grief, they say that anger is a part of it. Now he turned around and he looked at these people, but now he's sitting back and look at the the sorrow that he had. He was still careful in how he did this here. He didn't snap on the people. He still healed the man. He still healed the man. Now let's sit back and look at the godly sorrow, and let's look at fear. Let's look at the 26th chapter of Matthew, and let's look at fear. Maybe this one. Okay, help me. Nope. That's why we got the app ready.
No.
26 and 39. Actually 36. 26 and 36. Then come Yahushua with them unto the place called Jessamine, and saith unto his disciples, sit ye here while I go and pray yonder. And he took with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, and began to be sorrowful and very heavy. Now you sitting back looking at it, he's starting to get a little down. Understandably so. Then saith unto them, my soul is exceeding sorrowful, even unto death. Tarry ye here and watch with me. So now he's in a state of depression. But you sit back and you look at it, right? He said, if a man be afflicted, let him pray. This is the first thing he goes to do. And he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thy will. So again, you seeing right here, even in this sorrow, you know what you see right here? Fear. He still had the reverence and respect. He says, that's why he say, I made a covenant of life and peace with him for the fear wherewith he feared before me. You know what I'm saying? Wherewith the fear that he feared before me. The same way Phineas, he made this covenant with him of everlasting priesthood to his seed, and a covenant of life because of the fear wherewith he had before him, the respect, the reverence, the adulation that he had. Even in the midst of that sorrow, that's the carefulness that's being wrought. Now, that's what I'm sitting there telling you, right? You could be we dealing with the word of Yahuwah, and you could end up being sorrowful. You could end up being sad. You could be afflicted. You could be mourning. But the first thing you're supposed to do is you're supposed to seek to your Elohim. When you look at people who in the world who don't have that, they end up seeking to the things that's of the world to their own destruction. That's why some of them sit back and they end up killing themselves. When you look at the difference, when you look at Elijah when he was depressed, because this is what I was explaining to somebody one day, right? A normal person, if they that depressed that they want to die, they usually take their own life. You know what I'm saying? They don't pray to the Most High and ask them to kill him. You know what I'm saying? Normal, regular people don't do that. So when you look at Elijah's sitting back looking at the situation going on with Jezebel. She done killed all the prophets. She coming to kill him. You know what I'm saying? He looked at himself and he was depressed. He said, I'm not better than my fathers or nothing. They done killed all the prophets. I'm the only one left. Just kill me. Just take me. You know what I'm saying? When you sit back and you look at it in a natural sense, that's a level of sorrow that we would equate with depression in these days and times. That's what you would equate with that. You know what I'm saying? Because he's asking for death. Now, when I was telling this person about this here, they say, so you're gonna go to hell? And I'm like, if a person was to literally pray to Yah for death, I don't think hell is something that they probably really concerned with, because that's probably not somewhere they going. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't think nobody would actually in their right mind, if they know they were going to hell, ask to die, knowing that when they wake up, they're going to hell. You know what I'm saying? When we look at Jonah was angry at the preaching that the Ninevites, when they heard the word, they repented of and turned. Because that's what all this stuff basing off of is the godly sorrow that the Ninevites had. That when they heard the preaching of Jonah, they repented. And they were sorrowful. And they put on the sackcloth and the ashes and they fasted. They afflicted themselves before Elohim. That's why this man say, let this mind be in you, the same mind that was in Yahushua HaMashiach, that he that suffered in the flesh ceased from sin. Now we looking at them afflicting their body, but we know this is representative of afflicting your body by denying the flesh the desires that it wants. They were that sorrowful and that broken in spirit that they were prepared to do that. So you seen the fear, the vehement desire, the carefulness. You know what I'm saying? To that all these things where they would be approved that Yahuwah could forgive them. This is why you sit back and you look at Jonah already know. He say, man, I already know you're Elohim full of mercy, slow to anger, and to forgive. That's why I didn't want to go to him, because I know you're going to forgive them if they turn. I would have rather they perish. And even in that instant, what we're looking at, Jonah turned around and say, man, let me die. You know what I'm saying? Regardless if anybody want to turn around and look at it, even Paul say he was longing for death. Hello? Hello? Even Paul say he was longing for death. To rather be with Yahuwah. You know what I'm saying? But what we looking at, what we understanding is what we seeing in a modern sense is a person mired in depression. No person that is not that sorrowful is going to ask to die. You know what I'm saying? Even Mashiach saying, I'm exceedingly sorrowful, even unto death. I'm so sad and down and broken that I would want to die. You know what I'm saying? But not the death that I'm about to take on, because I know what's going to happen to me, because I'm asking for that cup to pass. But my heart and soul is so heavy that it would be better for me to die. You know what I'm saying? When you get to that point that your sorrows is that heavy and that hard, that's that Psalms 34 that we read earlier. Now you have a broken spirit. You know what I'm saying? He say sorrow break the ruach. You know what I'm saying? When that happens, then guess what? He say he is near to them of a broken heart. Because when your heart is broken to that point, then you have been humbled, like we seen with Manasseh. Then when you've been humbled to that point, then guess what can happen? You can call on Elohim, and Elohim will hear your cries, because he says his ears is open unto the righteous cries, and he will give them their desires because they have been broken to this point. You know what I'm saying? A lot of time we don't turn around and we don't look at it that way. You know what I'm saying? But that's the purpose of that godly sorrow, to work you to repentance, because this repentance leads to everlasting life. Sometimes it don't even necessarily mean that you done anything wrong. It's the point to refine you, to make you perfect. Matter of fact, it's something in Proverbs. Get Proverbs 17. I'm going to come back to, I got 3 books in front of me. I'm going to come back to that thing we looking at in Mashiach. Well, 2 books and 1 app. Let me see if it's Proverbs 17. Proverbs 17. Listen to what he say now. He say the finding pot is for silver and the furnace for gold, but Yahuwah try the hearts. So let me see something real fast. He say the finding pot is for silver. Now we know this here. He say, I haven't tried you. He said, I've refined you as silver, but in the furnace of affliction. We know Peter made that statement that the trying of your faith is more precious than gold. So the sorrows and the breaking and the humility is to try your heart, to see what manner of thing you got in your heart. That's why you turn around and you read that particular statement where he say that godly sorrow work you to repentance. Then he say what manner of carefulness, what manner of vehement desire, what manner of fear. You know what I'm talking about? Hold on. I don't want to say it wrong. I want to hit all of them. That's why he turned around and says this clear as day. Behold, this self-same thing that you sorrowed after a godly sort, what carefulness is wrought in you, what clearing of yourselves, what indignation, what fear, what vehement desire, what zeal, what revenge. Now you know what that indignation is? Because you would be so angry with yourself because of what you have done that you would never do it again. See, when we look at the word try, and this part here is bakan, and it means to examine or to prove, to examine, to scrutinize, to test, prove, try of gold, persons, the heart of man, to be tried, to be proved, to make a trial. You know what I'm saying? So when you turn around and you look at when you going through this, that's the same thing when you sit back and you look at Manasseh, right? What we read in 2 Chronicles 33, right? Yah came to Manasseh to get him to turn. He wouldn't hear. So what did he do? He put him amongst thorns. He put him in fetters. He took him to Babylon and brought him real low. And when he was in that affliction and in that fire and he was tried, then he repented of himself and he cried unto his Elohim. His Elohim heard him and restored him and placed him better at the first. And he corrected those deeds and the indignation that he had and what he had done. See, sometimes we don't even sit back and look at that's what the trying and proving is for. So if you get put in a situation, right, you being tried, that y'all bring something out here to test your heart, and you sit back and it causes you to stumble, it causes you to sin, you could pretty much wager that whatever that was, that to test you, that's not for you. You know what I'm saying? That's not going to be for you. Because if it was to test you to prove you to see, it might have been yours if you could stand on it and refrain from the sin. You know what I'm talking about? But if it caused you to sin, then that means you sit back and look at it. That might not be for you. You know what I'm talking about? See, let's look at something in James chapter 1 about verse 14. Well, James 1 and 12.
Clear, no.
He say, Baruch is the man that endured temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the master hath promised to them that love him. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of Elohim, for Elohim cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempt he any man. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Then when the lust have conceived, it bring forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bring forth death. Do not err, my beloved brethren. You know what I'm saying? See, now when you look at Yahuwah trying the hearts, we already know how he did that when we look in 1 Kings 22, when he sent the lion spirit in all the prophets' mouth to try Ahab to see what it is, what he was going to do. Because Ahab had already been told not to go. But he sat back and looked at, let me see what the prophets say, because I want to go. Only reason because Jehoshaphat say, man, let me see if it's somebody else here who got the word. Well, he turned around and looked at, whoa, this might not be a move that we should make. You know what I'm saying? See, y'all always going to try your heart. You be in situations and circumstances, and mainly the main time that you get tried is through affliction. When you even sit back and you look at the afflictions that Mashiach went through, that was to try his heart, to examine him, to prove what he was going to do or not. Even though we already knew what he was going to do. So let's look at Romans 8:1. Then we'll come back to looking at Mashiach. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Yahushua HaMashiach, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Ruach. For the law of the Ruach of life and Yahushua HaMashiach have made me free from the law of sin and death. You see that law of the Ruach of life? He said he made an everlasting covenant with them. He said, I'm giving you my covenant of shalom. You know, shalom, life, same difference, same thing. You know what I'm saying? The life of the eternal life of Yahuwah brings peace. You know what I'm saying? Because why? Because you're going to end up dwelling where we already read. You're going to dwell in Jerusalem, the city of peace, where he placed his name. You know what I'm saying? So when you turn around and look at it, that's an example, because he said, I made a covenant with him of life and peace. That's why Hamashiach come in John 10 and say, I came to give them life and give it in abundance. You know what I'm saying? One thing for certain and two things is for sure. That if Yah give you something or direct you something, it's not going to cause you to commit a sin unto death. You know what I'm saying? That's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? If that ends up, if what Yah directs you to would cause you to do something that could cost you your mortal soul, your eternal life, then you know he didn't direct you to that. You know what I'm saying? He didn't direct you to that. Because he's not going to put you in a situation that even if you were tempted, and like this here, it would be something that would intercede to stop that. You know what I'm saying? See, like a brother just mentioned, he said the Ruach is what keeps the filthiness out of man's heart, not his mind. It's what restrains his behavior. You know what I'm saying? It's what's going to restrain his behavior the way he doesn't do certain things. You know, when you're dealing with carnal versus Ruach, when you look at carnal versus Ruach, you know, the flesh has no restraint. And you know, the Ruach will sit back and it'll allow you to, you know, when you sit back and look at, when you look at the Ruach sit back and it's gonna bring to your mind, it's gonna restrain you from doing certain things. You know what I'm talking about? When you operating by the flesh has no restraint. The word will not pull the flesh back. The flesh will continue to do it, and then the flesh will come up with means to justify itself, and then the flesh might endure for a little bit of not doing certain things, but when that desire is stoked up and ran again, guess what ends up happening? The same sin and the same condemnation is going to be brought back up forth again, and it's going to bring forth that death. So then you have to turn around and look at who will set you up in a position for that to occur. Let's sit back and look at something. Come back over here to Matthew 26. And look at verse 39 again. And when he went a little further and fell on his face, he prayed, saying, "O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt." And he come unto the disciples and find them asleep, and saith unto Peter, "What, could you not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray, lest you enter into temptation. The ruach indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." When we turn around and you look at it, the thing that he sat back and said to them is, you can't watch with me for an hour. Just 1 hour. Even in the state of his sorrowfulness and his sorrow, he brought somebody with him. He brought somebody with him for one sad cause. Because it's not good to go through those type of things alone. You know what I'm saying? And he turned around and looked at him. You couldn't even be there for me in my time of sorrow. You know what I'm saying? Y'all done fell asleep on me. But then the key thing that he told you is that the ruach is willing, but the flesh is weak. So when you move to godly sorrow, you're going to move yourselves to stay in the fear of Elohim. You know what I'm talking about? Even when the flesh becomes weak in that temptation, that you're going to rest upon that your power in that weakness and sit back and look at, when I'm in an infirmity, I'm in a weak state, I'm going to be strong through Yahushua HaMashiach. I'm not going to lean or bend to the lust of the flesh and give in to that to my own detriment and my own destruction. Because the flesh will take you down, and they don't even be there with you when it's over with. You know what I'm saying? So what's the next thing he's mentioning about? Indignation. Well, we already looked at the indignation with the godly sorrow, with the anger that he had. But then let's look at the vehement desire. In Matthew 26, a little bit higher up, probably about 10. Let's look at his vehement desire. It might not be the chapter that I want. Could be John 13. So some exact words that I'm looking for that he spoke to them. We should find what I'm looking for. Let me find the exact word that I'm looking for. Make it Luke 22. That's what I want. Luke 22. Got it in his book. Luke 22, probably about verse 10 or verse 7. Now it says here in verse 7, he say, then came the day of unleavened bread when the Passover must be killed. So what day is that the Passover must be killed? It's got to be killed on you say you keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. And then the whole assembly of the congregation of Yasharah shall kill it in the evening. That's Exodus chapter 12 and verse 6. And he sent Peter and John, saying, go prepare us the Passover that we may eat. And they said unto him, where wilt thou that we prepare? He said unto them, behold, when you are entered into the city, there shall a man meet you bearing a pitcher of water. Follow him into the house where he enter in. And ye shall say unto the goodman of the house, the master saith unto thee, where is the guest chamber where I shall eat the Passover with my disciples? And he shall show you a large upper room furnished there, make ready. And they went and found as he said unto them, and they made ready the Passover. And when the hour was come, he sat down with the 12 apostles with him, and he said unto them, with desire have I desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. So now you sitting back looking at in these sorrows, he's already knowing that he's finna get ready to suffer, and you see that vehement desire, because I desire to do this. Not only do I desire to eat this Passover with you, he say with desire I have desired to eat this. It's a vehement passion that I desire to do this with you. We know this going back to what we looked at before in Hebrews 9 about him sprinkling the vessels of the ministry with blood. For I say unto you, I will not any more eat thereof until it be fulfilled in the kingdom of Elohim. And he said, he took the cup and gave thanks and said, take this and divide it among yourselves. For I say unto you, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of Elohim shall come. And he took bread and gave thanks and brake it and gave unto them, saying, this is my body, which is given for you. This do in remembrance of me. Likewise also the cup after the supper, saying, this cup is the New Testament in my blood, which is shed for you. This is a vehement desire here, is what he's sitting back telling these men that I desire, with desire, to do this with you, to sit back and show you how my body will be broken. You know what I'm saying? And how my blood will be spilled. But it's a vehement desire and zeal that I have to do these things, that that I will be approved, and it'll be clear in this matter that I had a manner of godly sorrow amongst yourself, or in yourself, even the clearing of yourself. Because when he did this here, his sacrifice cleared all of us. You know what I'm saying? Let's look at 1 Timothy chapter 2 now. I'm finna get ready to wrap this thing up in a minute anyway. So we look at 1 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 3. But matter of fact, let's make it about verse 4. We'll make it verse 3 is cool. He said, but this is good and acceptable in the sight of our Elohim. The sight of Elohim, our Savior, who will have that all men to be saved and come to the knowledge of the truth. There's one Elohim and one mediator between Elohim and men, the man, Yahushua HaMashiach, who gave himself a ransom for all, to be testified in due time. Whereunto I am ordained a preacher and an apostle. I speak the truth of Mashiach and lie not, a teacher of the Gentiles in verity, in faith, and in verity. I will therefore that men pray everywhere, lifting up Kadesh hands without wrath and doubting. You know what I'm saying? And we already know that because we done talked about that before. When Mashiach was on the stake, lifting up set apart hands without wrath and doubting. And that's the one key thing that we had to sit back and look at. That if we make supplication in our heart and we had doubt in our heart, it ain't even going to work. You know what I'm saying? Let's sit back and look at something he said in Mark chapter 4. About Mark chapter 4, about verse 35. And then we got to get back to Jonah. Knock Jonah out of the box. And then get you Matthew chapter 21. I think we looked at the other one last night. He said, in the same day when even was come, he saith unto them, let us pass over unto the other side. And when they had sent away the multitude, they took him even as he was in the ship. And there was also with him other little ships. And there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves beat into the ship, so that it was now full. And he was in the hinder part of the ship, asleep on a pillow. And they awake him and say unto him, Master, care thou not that we perish? And he arose and rebuked the wind, and said unto the sea, Shalom, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was great calm. That's one of the things we had to sit back and look at. It. Sometimes our thoughts can get all the way out of whack. And sometimes we just got to peace, be still, so our thoughts can be calm. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say, peace I leave you with. Sometimes we have to remember, let the word retain in our minds, so that rage and sea in our hearts and in our minds can be stilled by the word, that we can be still. And he said unto them, why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith? Because usually when your mind is all out the way and you like this here, that's when that fear come in and then your faith lacks. You know what I'm talking about? Then he can't be able to sit back while you spreading forth those set apart hands and you got that wrath and doubt. He can't receive that. Let's look at Matthew 15, that I said, man. No, Matthew 21. And 17, well, 18. Now in the morning, as he returned into the city, he hungered. And when he saw a fig tree in the way, he came and came to it and found nothing thereon but leaves only, and said unto it, Let no fruit grow on thee henceforward forever. And presently the fig tree withered away. And when the disciples saw it, they marveled, saying, How soon is the fig tree withered away? Yahushua answered and said unto them, Truly I say unto you, if you have faith and doubt not, you shall not only do as which this is done to this fig tree, but you shall also say unto this mountain, Be thou removed, and be cast into the sea, and it shall be done. And all things whatsoever you shall ask in prayer, believing, you shall receive. That's why he told that man, he said, according to your faith, let it be done unto you. Now, when you sit back and you look at that mountain, when you sit back and look at it, what he's talking about is any obstacle in your way. If you believe, if you ask in faith and not doubting, Yah is able to remove all obstacles out of the way and bring unto you what you're asking for. You know what I'm saying? But you got to earnestly believe in your heart that he's going to do it. Look at Romans chapter 10. And 6. But the righteousness which is of faith speak on this wise. Say not in thy heart, who shall ascend into Shamahim, that is to say, to bring Mashiach down from above. Or shall say, who shall descend into the deep, that is, to bring up Mashiach again from the dead. But what saith it? The word is nigh thee, even in thy mouth and in thy heart. That is the word of faith which we preach. That if thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Master Yahushua, and shalt believe in thy heart that Elohim hath raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. For with the heart man believe unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. For the scriptures say, whosoever believe on him shall not be ashamed. So that's where you sit back and look at it. If you ask in faith, not doubting from the heart, this man is able to do it. You know, that's a lot of things that kind of mess us up as a people, as the doubt creep in. That's why you sit back and you see them people and they say, Master, help us with our faith, increase our faith. Because sometimes it's to sit back and look at that. We see certain things that look like they're impossible to be done, and then you sit back and you doubt that it can be accomplished. That's why you say, is there anything too hard for me? That's what y'all say. Is there anything too hard for me to get accomplished? There's absolutely nothing too hard for the man to do. It was nothing for this man to take a 90-year-old woman and get her pregnant. Hello? Nothing. It was nothing for him to get a 90-year-old woman and for her to have a baby. You know what I'm saying? It was nothing. You know what I'm talking about? Absolutely nothing. So when we sit back and you look at Romans chapter 4. And 16. What I was referring to the first time was like, the Ruach is a restrainer. It holds you back from persistent iniquity, and it's imprisoning power. So you don't sit back and look at, right? Let's say you sit back and you look at, you don't possess the Ruach, and you do something wrong. Then you turn around and you look at it just like Nehemiah say. He say, if you commit sin, you shall even live in it, because then a pattern is going to begin. You know what I'm saying? Now, where the Ruach resides at, it's going to keep you from that persistent pattern, because what happens in that consistent pattern is you get taken by it. And the next thing you know, he that commits sin is the servant of sin. You end up becoming a slave to it, because before you know it, only thing that's bounded in your mind is iniquity, and you're living in it. You know what I'm saying? Before you even sit back and look at it, that's why he say, hold steadfast lest you be hit with the deceitfulness of sin, because sin is deceitful. Once you begin to do something and you commit sin in a particular matter, and then you begin to continually to do so, that sin begins to deceive you to believe that what you're doing is right and correct, even to the point, this is why we read last night, that he'll give you a strong delusion because you have pleasure in unrighteousness to cause you to believe that what is wrong is right and what is right is wrong. That's why I say there's a way that seems right unto a man, but the ways thereof are the ends of death, because that's what sin is going to do. It's going to deceive you. You know what I'm saying? See, the Ruach is going to restrain you. You're not going to be in that consistent pattern of transgression. That's not going to happen. He said, therefore it is of faith that it might be favor to the end of promise might be sure to all the seed, not to only which is of the Torah, but that which is also of the faith of Abraham, who is the father of us all. As it is written, I have made thee a father of many nations, before him whom he believed, even Elohim, who quickened the dead and called those things which be not as though they were, who against hope believed in hope, that he might become the father of many nations according to that which is spoken, so shall thy seed be. That's why we have to remember that against hope, you still got to believe in hope. Hope is the things that are not seen. You say without faith, it's impossible to please him. The same way he say, if a man can see it, why doth he yet hope for it? You know what I'm saying? But if he see it not, then with patience, he wait for it. You know what I'm saying? And being not weak in faith, he considered not his own body now dead, when he was about 100 years old, neither yet the deadness of Sarah's womb. He staggered not at the promise of Elohim through unbelief, but was strong in faith, giving esteem to Elohim, and being fully persuaded that which he had promised, he was also able to perform. Therefore, it was imputed to him for righteousness. See, that's the thing we have to look at, is to not stagger in faith and not doubt if the man has made manifestation of a promise unto you, or he's let you know that a certain thing is going to go. Now, when you look at you dealing with the flesh, why you say the Ruach is willing, but the flesh is weak, because the flesh natural inclination is to doubt. Remember, we were dealing with that nephash, or the soul. The soul natural inclination is to doubt. The flesh's natural inclination is to doubt. So this is why y'all have to take you in certain instances to break your heart. You know what I'm talking about? Crush your spirit, to bring sorrow upon you, that you can turn and you'll have no other choice but to turn and look to him and trust in him. You know what I'm saying? That's the objective. That's the purpose of that. You know what I'm talking about? That way the power of Mashiach can be made manifest in you. That's why when we read that 2 Corinthians chapter 12 last night, he said, I would rather esteem in my infirmities that the power of Mashiach rest upon me. See, when we turn around and we look at it and we say we want the power of Mashiach to rest upon us, you know, sometimes, and I say, man, in the past, I done talk about the sufferings and the afflictions and the breaking of the heart, but sometimes it don't register. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you might actually have to see it for it to actually register. Because they seen this man suffering. You know what I'm talking about? They seen this man sorrow. No, we look at sometimes this, just let me believe, let me put the sin away. Then we forget about all the things that when we're going to be conformed into the image of his son, that we might have to take on, that he took on. I told you before, that doesn't mean you take on every aspect of every single solitary thing that he went through. But we know at the bare minimum, you're going to suffer persecution. You know what I'm saying? But you're going to have to take on these sorrow. Your spirit is going to have to be broken. Because if this man was broken, and you're going to have to suffer, because he learned obedience from the things that he suffered. You know what I'm saying? How else is you going to learn obedience unless you suffer? You know what I'm saying? But that suffering is but for a moment, because it has a way greater weight. That's why you say the trial of your faith is more precious than gold. That's why you say, do not be amazed. The same afflictions are being accomplished in your brethren across the whole world. When we take back and look at it, I put it to you this way. I done had about 3-4 people, you know what I'm saying, sit back and tell me about the sorrows they enduring the same time while I'm enduring mine. You know what I'm talking about? Some people who being afflicted, you just don't know about it. But like I say, brother, reach out to me, let me know. Now, one dude I know, he ain't being afflicted, he just being tried. Because he done already did something. He went and slept with a married woman, and then he say he feel like every woman that approach him is married. And I say maybe the adversary putting that in your face just to see will you do that again. Because you longing for companionship and you don't care where it come from. You don't even care that it's a married woman. You know what I'm saying? You got to sit back and look at, if you talking to a woman who married and she feel and she want to come to your house, watch a movie with you, do this here. Why would you even want a woman who sit back and say, I got a man? You know what I'm saying? Like, once you hear that, You supposed to be, as a man, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I'm straight on that. I don't want nothing to do with that. You know what I'm talking about? Especially if she say she got a husband. Then I was talking to the brother the other day. I know me personally, I wouldn't want to be the rebound dude either. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the sign. You ain't respecting yourself with that either. Because somebody come tell you, yeah, I just got out of 5-year marriage, or I was with somebody for this amount of time. You ain't even healed yourself. How you going to be in my faith? It's a good chance I'm going to be hurt. You know what I'm talking about? Because you ain't fully healed. You know what I'm saying? How you going to be willing and fully invested in me if you coming off something that was of an extended period of time? It's not going to be able to happen. Those wounds are still going to exist, and eventually they're going to manifest. And I'm going, something bad is going to happen. And 9 times out of 10, that person who's the person that they rebounded with, they're going to be hurt. And then hopefully it don't happen, but they're going to turn around and you know what they're going to end up doing? They're going to take their pain, they're going to end up hurting somebody else. And then the cycle just continues. Because you're really supposed to look at it and have more respect for yourself. But especially like if I walk up to a woman, this woman tell me I got a husband. Alrighty then. You know what I'm saying? But you got niggas that's just going to keep on going. You know what I'm saying? That's obviously somebody want a bullet in their head. You know what I'm talking about? And also somebody that has no value or respect for themselves whatsoever. That's why we have so many bastard children. You know what I'm saying? That's why our community's in so much disarray, because a nigga will want a companion so bad that they'll put their self-respect right out the window for it. You know what I'm talking about? Where we was at? Let's come back over here to Jonah chapter 4. So when we look at Jonah chapter 4, right, and we start at verse 3, because he said he knew that he was of great kindness and merciful and slow to anger. That's why he give you this opportunity. Matter of fact, since I read that, look at 2 Peter chapter 3. And about verse 8. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the master 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is one day. The master is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long suffering to us ward, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. So Yah gives that an opportunity for that godly sorrow to come forth, that everybody might come to repentance, that their soul might be saved. Because he said that's acceptable in the eyesight of Elohim, that all men might be saved. Now let's go back to Jonah chapter 4. So we look at verse 3. He say, therefore now, O Yahuwah, take, I beseech thee, my life from me, for it is better for me to die than to live. Then Yahuwah said, dost thou well to be angry? So Jonah went out of the city and sat on the east side of the city, and there he made a booth and sat under the shadow till he might see what become of the city. So now you say he made a booth, he made a temporary dwelling place. Hold on a second. Give me one second, y'all. Now, what y'all think this could mean about he sat down and he made himself a booth? And he sat under the shadow of the booth. Well, yeah, absolutely. Now you sit back and you look at him, he made a booth and he sat under the shadow so he could see what would become of it. Let's look at something like this here, right? Let's look at Revelation 18. Now the difference is, Nineveh didn't catch this destruction. We know to sit back and look at it, we dwelling under the shadow, we being covered. He's sitting up on the booth of this temporary housing place that he made. But he said he made a booth, he wanted to sit back to see what would become of the city. Let's look at Revelation 18:4. And I heard another voice from Shamahim saying, come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. For her sins reached unto Shamahim, and Elohim have remembered her iniquity. Same thing with the Nineveh. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works, in the cup which ye have filled her to the double. Now the difference between Babylon the Great here and Nineveh is these people didn't turn at the preaching of the prophets. Remember, in Revelation 11, it talk about the two witnesses. They killed them. Say when he dropped all the plagues, he say men still didn't repent of their fornications, of their murders, of their worshiping of idols, or any of these things. When the word came, these people's heart was so hard through the deceitfulness of sin, they continued in that pathway to their own destruction. Let's come back down and let's look at Revelation 18 and about verse 21. We'll make it 20. Matter of fact, 18. And cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, that great city, wherein we were made rich. All that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour she was made desolate. Rejoice over her, thou Shamahim, and you Kadesh apostles and prophets, for Elohim have avenged you on her. Now this is what he's sitting back looking at in that booth that he wants to see. But now we sit back and look at also, sitting back looking at is, we dwelling in booths under the shadow of it to look at what become of the city, because we looking at what's going to become of the enemies of Elohim. See, this is what Jonah wanted to see, was the destruction. The difference then is Nineveh repented at the preaching, and godly sorrow was stirred up and moved in them. The difference now is these people hearing the word and no action or no manifestation of anything is being brought forth. You know what I'm saying? There's no fear of Elohim in the land. Let's look at something in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, chapter 5, my apologies. 5 and 1. For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle will dissolve, we have a building of Elohim, a house not made with hand, eternal in the Shamahim. For in this we groan, earnestly desire to be clothed upon with the house which is from Shamahim. If so be that being clothed we shall not be found naked. For we that are in this tabernacle do groan, being burdened, not that we would be unclothed, but clothed upon, that mortality might be swallowed up of life. Now he that hath wrought us for this selfsame thing is Elohim, who have also given unto us the earnest of the Ruach. Therefore we are always confident, knowing that while we are at home in the body, we are absent from the master. For we walk by faith and not by sight. Now that's what he's sitting back looking at. He's still hoping that he can see these people destroyed. But when he sit back and look at it, he made a booth to dwell under the shadow of it. We sitting back looking at that the Father has made a booth for us that we might dwell under the shadow of it. That being Yahusha. That's the being the covering, because he said it's better for me to die, because he was that angry, because y'all had mercy on these people. You can see that with amongst a lot of our people who call themselves Hebrew Israelites and whatnot, our people that walk in the word. They have a great anger at the other nations, and even at the thought or inclination that they could be saved. It angers them. You know what I'm saying? Same thing you see with Jonah. Come on back to this Jonah chapter 4. Oh my goodness. Look at verse 6. It said, Yahuwah Elohim prepared a gourd and made it to come up over Jonah, that it might be a shadow over his head, to deliver him from his grief. So Jonah was exceeding glad of the gourd. Now remember that gourd is a vine tree which bring forth castor oil. And he said that he made this here to deliver them from their grief. Hold on, let me read the name first. Let me see how this work in my head. Elohim prepared a worm when the morning rose the next day, and it smote the gourd that it withered. And it came to pass when the sun did arise that Elohim prepared a vehement east wind, and the sun beat upon the head of Jonah, that he fainted and wished it himself to die, and said, it is better for me to die than to live. Elohim said to Jonah, do thou well to be angry for the gourd? And he said, I do well to be angry, even unto death. You know what I'm saying? That's a high level of anger, that you angry enough that you would want to die. Then said Yahuwah, thou had pity on the gourd, which thou hast not labored, neither made it grow, which came up in the night and perished in the night. Should I not spare Nineveh, that great city, wherein are more 6,000 persons that cannot discern between their right hand and their left hand, and also much cattle? Now look what he said. He said, you had pity or mercy on a gourd of which you did not make, which you didn't cause it to grow, which you didn't work for, that was came up in the night and perished in the night. Now when we turn around and sit back and look at something, let's look at John chapter 1 and 1. We're talking about John 1 and 12. Maybe about John 1 and 14. And the word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his esteem. The esteem is the only begotten of the Father, full of favor and truth. Yachanan bare witness of him, cried, saying, this is he of whom I spake, that he that come after me is preferred before me, for he was before me. And of his fullness have we all received favor for favor. For the Torah was given by Moses, but favor and truth came by Yahushua HaMashiach. No man hath seen Elohim at any time. The only begotten Son, which is in the bosom of the Father, he have declared him. So when we sit back and look at it, he set this gourd or this castor tree over Jonah to deliver him from his grief. When you sit back and you look at the apostles, when they seen Mashiach, they were quite happy to see him, weren't they? I'm talking about when he came up on the scene and he began to tell them, when he began to tell them that he was going to die, they became a little sorrowful and they began to mourn. You know what I'm saying? Even to the point where you look at Peter, but these people don't start calling my phone. You know what I'm saying? Even when you sit back and you look at Peter, right? He tell Peter that he's going to die. He say, not so, I will follow you even unto death. Even when Peter grabbed him and he said, man, this shall not happen to you. And he said, get behind me, Satan, for thou favorest the things that be of man and not the things that be of Elohim. This is sit back and look at that if you take away this gourd that's giving me this shadow or giving me this covering, it'll make me angry even unto death. You even sit back and you look at when they came and asked Peter, did they know the man? He told them he didn't know him. It made him angry. Really wish some people start calling my phone. So when you sit back and you look at it and he say, well, you had pity on the gourd that you didn't labor and that you didn't make, that came up in the night and perished in the night. Well, you know Hamashiach came down and ate the feast in the night, and you know what that sun went there. He caused that sun to go down from the 6th hour to the 9th hour, and he caused him to perish in the night. You know what I'm saying? To sit back and show you the same purpose of, if I can have mercy on a group of people that don't know their right hand from the left, the same way that you had mercy upon this gourd of which you did not make or which you did not labor for, because he made all nations. We know what the law say. He say, he that blesseth thee shall be blessed, and he that curseth thee shall be cursed, and you shall be a blessing unto all nations. You know what I'm saying? Because all of them are the work of Yahuwah's hands. This is what he's trying to sit back and explain to him. These people show godly sorrow. How can I not have mercy on these people who are the work of my hands? Look at something in Romans chapter 2. Well, you hard-headed, ain't you, boy? Romans 2 and 13. Matter of fact, make it 2 and 2 and 9. Tribulation and anguish upon every soul of man that do evil, of the Yahudim first and also of the Gentile. But esteem, honor, and shalom to every man that work good, to the Yahudim first and also to the Gentile. There is no respect of persons with Elohim. This is what he's sitting back trying to explain to Jonah. For as many as have sinned without the law shall also perish without the law, and as many have sinned in the law shall be judged by the law. For not the hearers of the law are just before Elohim, but the doers of the law are just before Elohim. The same way them people sat back and they repented at Jonah's preaching is the same way he could turn around and spare them. For when the Gentiles which have not the law do by nature the things contained in the law, these having not the law are a law unto themselves, which show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts the mean while accusing or else excusing one another. In the day when Elohim shall judge the secrets of men by Yahushua HaMashiach according to my gospel. Do you not realize the secrets of men were made manifest when Jonah came through there? We don't even sit back and look at it. That's what he's sitting back showing. The secrets of them were made manifest. They heard that preaching. That man sat back and said, everybody put on sackcloth and ashes. Every man turned from the evil of his way and the violence in his hand. All the secrets were made manifest. You know what happened when them secrets made manifest? Godly sorrow. The people came back and afflicted themselves and repented. You know what I'm saying? The same way you seen that in Acts chapter 2. The same way when the people came at John and they heard his preaching and they repented at his preaching. So then we know when he talking about in verse 7 in Jonah chapter 4, right, that he made the gourd and the sun did arise and that east wind and the sun beat upon the head that he fainted and he wished on himself that he should die. It's just that sorrow. You know what I'm saying? Because the thing that was covering you and giving you comfort was taken away from you. Why? Because the Most High got to break you down and humble you and crush your spirit till you be able to understand and see the point. Let's look at, that's how I have it to you. Titus chapter 2, man. Matter of fact, it might be Titus chapter 3. Titus 3 and 4, and we stop it right there, man. Say, this is a faithful saying, and these things I will that thou affirm constantly. Oh, I'm sorry, I said verse 4. But after the kindness, matter of fact, make it one. Make it one. He say, put them in mind to subject to principalities and powers, to obey magistrates, to be ready for every good work, to speak evil of no man, to be no brawlers, but gentle, showing meekness unto all men. For we ourselves also were sometimes foolish, disobedient, deceived, serving diverse lusts and pleasures, living in malice, envy, hateful, and hating one another. But after the kindness and love of Elohim our Savior towards man appeared, not by works of righteousness which we have done, but according to his mercy he saved us by the washing of regeneration and renewing of the Ruach HaKodesh, which he shed on us abundantly through Yahushua HaMashiach our Savior. That being justified by his favor, we should be made heirs according to the hope of eternal life. So hallelujah for Yahushua. That's what we turn around, you sit back and look at. The man come through. This nigga here, man. The man come through. Oh, she peed on you?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, that's already known. So when we turn around and we look at it, right, we already know that the purpose of the man coming through is for us to have mercy on us. But we got to be moved with that godly sorrow first. You're going to have to be broken down. And when you're broken down, he can be near to you because he said he's near to those who are of a contrite heart and a humble spirit. Most people don't have a contrite heart and a humble spirit. Therefore, y'all can't stand up on your behalf to hear your cries. So again, hallelujah for Yahushua. I appreciate everybody.